What an ugly retracement and sell-off we saw across all three of the US markets on Tuesday, the 27th of January 2015. You can see here on my screen, this is a chart of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We closed down just over 291 points on the daily. The S&P 500 closed down very close to 30 points on the daily candlestick. And when we have a look at the NASDAQ, we closed down spot on about 90 points. Pretty interesting in the way of technical signals, largely because we've been contending with this symmetrical triangle taking place not only on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, but also on the S&P 500. Of these two markets, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is the one which appears to be more or less sitting right on the precipice of breaking out of this symmetrical triangle. At the moment, I'm not going to go out on a limb and say, look, we have broken out of this. I'm also paying attention to this very strong level of support around 17,227 before we get carried away on lower prices across stocks in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Very important notice is that the Federal Reserve is releasing an announcement during Wednesday's trading session. This is obviously going to influence the way the market moves, probably more so for the second half of the trading session on Wednesday. So please pay attention to that particular announcement. I personally don't know what the announcement is going to be. Obviously, it has something to do with the interest rate dilemma. Are they going to raise rates or leave them unchanged? Also, there may be a little bit of deliberation and an announcement on the potential of a QE moving forward into 2015. Very interesting types of discussions and the subsequent announcement which is going to be released during Wednesday's trading session. Nasdaq again is coming up to this resistance level. It is getting rejected for the third time in 3 months. This looks like a head and shoulders starting to form. We can't trade it yet. We don't have any clarification or at least commitment to the downside below that 4,561 trade trigger. Now let's go into some individual trades. Apple at the end of close today has released its earnings. At the moment we are trading up about $114.52. Going back to this resistance level, I have a feeling that Apple is going to be somewhat similar to the Netflix gap and go trade. If we see a dark candlestick, anything like a hammer or something like that, we will have a very good gap and go for Thursday's trading session. So just monitor Apple. You should have been out of this on Monday's trading session, if not definitely on the Tuesday. If you held over earnings or into earnings, I'd be one, very surprised, and two, a little bit frustrated and a little bit angry, to be completely honest and sincere with you. If you held long based on our entry at 111.52, you would have been rewarded up to about 114.52 where it's going to open on Wednesday, but it's not a strategy which I encourage anyone to do whatsoever. Let's move into some additional stocks. Amazon today pulled back into this level. Earnings is coming out very, very soon. No particular trade. Baba also is reporting earnings tomorrow, so please do not place any additional trades on Baba. If anything, exit out of your already open positions on Baba based on that aggressive entry. Baidu today had a pullback. 224.49 was hit. When we traded and when we got into originally Baidu going back to Friday, last week, we did not envision a 300-point sell-off on the Dow Jones Industrial Average on Tuesday. Even though this was the case, Baidu technically is still holding up as per our discussion over the weekend in that pro analysis class. Yes, we've pulled back. Maybe we overshot the pullback based on the incredible sell-off we saw during Tuesday's trading session. But if we can hold these levels around this 225, 226 area, then I'd be looking to add at 237.73. I may also look at re-adding, above, of course, Friday's and Monday's two-day trading session right here, or two-day intraday high, going back to Friday and Monday. I will keep you updated on Baidu. It's unfortunate that we did get stopped out of this trade for a loss. It was a losing trade, but that's okay. Let's get into some additional stocks moving forward. Caterpillar is a stock which I have privately addressed in that pro analysis area. I have given you an update as per the earnings announcement which came out today during today's trading session. We do have a very big gap down to the downside. Is it a gap and go trade? Find out in that private area. Have a look. It'll be up when you get into that area on the private site. FAS is still within this descending wedge. No real trade set up there. Facebook is still trying to hold this level. Earnings is coming out tomorrow, so we don't have a trade effectively on Facebook. The same is true with Google. Still waiting patiently and diligently as we move closer and closer to earnings. GoPro looks as if potentially it's starting to break out of that bear flag. You can see the trade coming to us. It's still not there yet, but we're getting closer. Halliburton surprisingly held. It was up 4 cents today on the daily candlestick, even though the market's absolutely tanked. So it's showing relative strength. I was a little surprised by the movement in this stock, even though the majority of people in the pivot point trading community are holding Halliburton long. It did come as some form of surprise to me, a good surprise. Having said that, if the markets do bounce from this area, expect Halliburton to bust up above 42.05 and continue up to our upper target. If you are in this trade, I have adjusted my stops and I'm going to adjust them further for you right now. Right now, I'd be happy to exit, say, 50% of my position if we broke below today's low, and I'd also exit the remaining positions at about $40.49 if, in fact, obviously the Federal Reserve disappoints the markets. I do think we are going to see a broad sell-off across not only all the markets, but also the majority of stocks being traded. Netflix today amazingly continued higher, up $70.61. We closed right at our ultimate target. No trade on Netflix. We still need to let this adjust and just sit back and wait for that sort of consolidation and retracement in the stock price before we can get actively involved in Netflix. Tesla's very neutral at the moment. No real major movements in Tesla. It is technically still in a bearish trend. You can see we're making a series of lower highs and also lower lows. We haven't broken out. We haven't shifted the trend, but we're getting very, very close to a trade on that Tesla stock. Interesting to see. And to conclude with, we have Twitter here, still in some form of a little bit of a symmetrical triangle. Not an ideal symmetrical triangle, but hey, it's still at least respecting the upper levels very, very nicely, and it's also respecting the lower levels very, very nicely. I'm expecting more or less a Bollinger Band squeeze to take place in Twitter if in fact we get closer and closer to the apex. It's getting very, very close to the earnings announcement. I do hope we break out before then, but in the event that we don't, it is going to turn into an earnings gap and go trade, which I'll keep you updated on in that pro analysis area. All the best, ladies and gentlemen. That is the Tuesday afternoon market recap. Have a great evening. I'll see you all as at Wednesday for an additional run through on what the stocks are doing. All the best. Goodbye.